Welcome to another episode of Healing Through Love. Each week, we share ideas, experiences, and resources to increase the awareness of domestic and family violence and to empower survivors to grow and thrive. We talk with experts who share their advice, or with people who have experienced abuse, no matter where they are on their journey. This is all about healing through love. And now, here are your hosts, Charlene Lynch and Rose Davidson.
Trauma that is buried festers over time and leads to a whole lot of issues. Kellie Fitzgerald in episode 31 explains how to overcome it.
Yes, and it's all because of my background. You kind of help the people that that resonate. And I think there's such a need. Domestic violence, abuse is all too common all the way around the world. I have clients all around the world right now that they're either in the process of getting out of that situation, or they've just gotten out of the situation and they're kind of like I was. Well, okay, now what? So wherever people are is, that's why I tailor it to the person. I don't do like group classes. Everything I do is individual because we're all different, and everybody's experiences are just a little bit different.
The Healing Through Love podcast with Charlene Lynch and Rose Davidson. The Healing Through Love podcast with host Charlene Lynch and Rose Davidson would love to acknowledge Global Glamping Charities Incorporated for generously supporting this podcast. Global Glamping Charities, solving homelessness in all of its forms. Reach out to them at globalglamping.org.
Hello and welcome to the Healing Through Love podcast. I'm your host, Charlene Lynch from charlenelynch.com. Healing Through Love is to help heal victims and survivors of domestic and family violence to find their way back to living a more fulfilling and meaningful life. We interview experts and survivors who share their personal stories and offer advice to those who've experienced abuse no matter where they are on their healing journey. As well as Healing Through Love podcast, we also have Pamper Days here in Adelaide, and that's our vision, our mission, to see these happen all around Australia and hopefully all around the globe. We have our beautiful assistants come and provide a Pamper Day for our survivors, which looks like a day spa on steroids. We have girls in the corner doing hand massages, we have hairdressers, we have makeup artists. It's all happening there, it's all free, and it's all to pamper our survivors. We are looking for organisations or people who have similar values. Please get in touch with us at Healing Through Love and at hello@htlaustralia.org, and we'll have all of those details all over the place. We've got a very, very special guest with us today. Her name is Kellie Fitzgerald. Now, she's got a very unique skill set. Aside from being an empath, she's also an intuitive medium, psychic, and also an author as well. And she's got a beautiful story to share about how she got to where she is. So hi, Kellie, how are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I am magnificently magnificent. Thank you for asking. Are you open to having a little conversation about your story?
Of course, yeah.
So tell me, how did you transact?
What happened to me basically is I tell people, and I've written in books as well, that I did not have a happy childhood and that led to getting into a lot of trouble as a teenager. I actually became a teenage mom, and that was the beginning of a very long time of abuse. One of the things that happens mostly to women, but I've also seen it in men, is when you don't have that wonderful, loving, supportive family, you don't develop a very good sense of self-confidence and self-esteem and all that wonderful stuff that you need in life. And it's It's a journey. It really is a journey to kind of recapture that. You kind of have to go back and reparent yourself a little bit. But years ago, before they were calling it life coaching, I became a life coach. And it's part of my spiritual journey was, oh, hey, wait a minute. Before I can move forward, I need to go back. And I think we bury things very, very deeply. So you have to kind of uncover that. And what I realized accidentally is through doing intuitive readings, I found that I was able to uncover things people had buried. And that's the beginning. That's really the beginning of healing. You have to figure out where the wound is before you can move forward and heal it.
I love that. And the journey that you've been on yourself has helped you progress. And now you've also written several books on the subject. Can you tell us a little bit about your books?
My first book is about to be re-released. Just, you know, you go through life and you learn new things. And I wanted to add some new things into that first book. But it's called excuse me, When on the Road to Enlightenment, don't forget to take out the trash.
So on the road to enlightenment, don't forget to take out the trash. I love it. This is letting go of baggage.
The trash is all those things that we bury, you know, anger, disappointment, you know, self-hatred, all of those things that contribute to us going into abusive relationships. Those are all things that we've buried. And that's what I'm calling your trash. Everybody has it. Everybody has something they're not happy with within themselves. And that's what the first book was about. It's about my journey and how I got through different points. And you really have to take it when you're talking about domestic violence, you really have to take it one step at a time. Yes. And you know, it's all about, okay, I have just realized I'm in an abusive situation. What do I do? That's really the first step. I know for myself, I was deliberately ignoring it. It's like, oh, well, he didn't hit me that hard. You know, he didn't throw that hard at me. And once I stopped and realized that's not okay, that was step one. First, you have to realize where you are. And then you can plot and plan myself. I had a plan. I literally left in the middle of the night because had he known I was doing that, I wouldn't have been able to go. He would have stopped me. Excuse me, this tickle in my throat.
But so just in summary, whilst you're coughing, is to have a realization that there's some baggage that we're carrying, and then that's really about us stepping up to the line and taking some level of responsibility for our low frequencies, and not being the victim and now playing the victor, so that we can stop the blaming and still take responsibility and ownership and accountability for our thought processes, our behaviors, the things that we've done in the past, and so that we can shed forgiveness on those to increase the frequency and lift them up to a higher level. Is that what we're saying?
That's what it's all about, really. You know, life is all about, in my opinion, which counts for whatever it counts for, but in my opinion, life is all about loving ourselves so that we can love other people in a healthy way. Because once you've been in one abusive relationship, what I did was I just changed the type of abuse and went right into number two. And it was like, okay, number two was not physically abusive, but there was the mental and the emotional and all of that stuff, you know, the constant, what are you, stupid? You know, what are you, ugly? What are you, fat? You know, all the horrible things that this guy could come up with, you know. So all I did was trade physical violence for other kind of abuse.
So cohesive control.
Yeah. And
gaslighting. Yes, so it's like the play remains the same, the game remains the same. It's just the players' names change. And for our listeners listening today, you would be having a smile on your face because you'll know what we're talking about. is that if we don't get to a point where we value ourselves differently and give forgiveness to ourselves, then we are going to continue to attract people that vibrate at that same frequency.
Right.
So wow, so you've written lots of books, and your first book is being re-released. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love it. And what can I ask what the name of the book is?
It's going to be the same book, When on the Road to Enlightenment. Don't forget to take out the trash. I've also got one that is a compilation. I collected a lot of stories from other people, and it's called Resilient. And it's all about people who have gone through, abuse, and they've come out the other side, and they're kind of sharing their stories in that book. Everything is available wherever you find books. Amazon has a list of everything I've written. So that's the easiest way probably to find all of them.
All we need to do is look for Kellie Fitzgerald. So that's Kellie, L-I-E. Yep. Fitzgerald, and Kellie with a K. I love it. So, wow. So you're an author and a life coach, and you're also an intuitive and psychic medium as well. Mm-hmm. And so you offer readings. Is that right?
Yes. And built into every reading that I do is a little bit of energy healing, a little bit of coaching. I sort of combine everything. I've kind of created my own program for people, and it's tailored to their individual needs. And it's also about helping people get started. A lot of times people just aren't quite sure where to get started, especially when you're coming out of an abuse situation. It's like, okay, I'm done with that. Now what?
Yes.
And I know personally that was my thought. It's like, okay, survived. Now what? Yeah. And that's what I kind of help people do, is figure out, okay, where do you go from here?
What's the next steps? I love it. So the readings, listeners, are a great way to have an opportunity to open the doors of conversation. So they're things that we perhaps maybe either don't think we need to talk about, or things that we don't want to talk about. And having a reading gives you an opportunity to be faced with a series of doors. And Kellie, as the reader, will ask you some questions and give you an opportunity to dive in deep. So it's a beautiful way to use as a tool for therapy, to do a reading, to give you an opportunity to have those beautiful conversations and see where that needs to go. It's loving, it's empathic, it's a really caring way to continue your journey of healing. It's lovely, and Kellie is the girl for that job. She's a beautiful empath herself. Kellie, would you say that? So I'm one of my skill sets is empathic. I wouldn't consider myself an empath though. Would you say though that people who have higher skill set around empathy are more likely to attract people who can put us in that domestic violence situation? Do you see that there is a correlation, Kellie?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a huge correlation between the brighter your light is, the more you're going to attract the dark side, is what I like to call it. And people want what you've got, and they may not even realize it consciously, but there's this big thing that in 3 or 4 different groups I've been in social media lately about the narcissist and the empath. And it's sort of, they attract each other and repel each other at the same time. And it leads to a lot of abuse, a lot of frustration, a lot of angst. And it's just, I think the key is, especially if you're empathic, is be aware of who you're attracting into your life. Like I said, I jumped out of a physically abusive relationship into a totally emotionally and mentally abusive relationship. And what we forget is it's all abuse. It's all abuse. So be aware of what you're attracting. One of the tools that I give people, if you are one of those people that just seems to surround yourself with negative people, put yourself in a giant pink hamster wheel. The hamster balls that people put there, so that they can run around. It can, if it's pink, it will repel any darkness. Darkness cannot penetrate it. And what I found personally It's just by visualizing myself walking around in a giant hamster ball all day long, I realized people were falling out of my life. And when you look at who those people are, it was amazing. I started losing, negative people and people who would use you. And, we're all familiar with energy vampires. There are just some people that you're around them and all of a sudden you feel tired and you're like, why am I in a bad mood? I had a great day. And that's what this tool did for me. I tell all my clients, use that, because it's simple. It's funny if you think about walking around in a giant, hamster ball. And it lightens the mood, and you'll realize there are people who would ordinarily be using you and kind of making your energy depleted that just fall away.
It's true that if you're a high vibe person, the low vibe just doesn't even feel comfortable. They don't want to play the game. So I love it.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. So, how can people stay connected with you? I understand that you've got a podcast, or is it a vlog? What is it that you do, Kellie?
We have a friend of mine and I, we started getting, she's also an intuitive and an empath, and we kept getting the same kinds of questions from our clients. So we started a YouTube series to address all of that stuff that people are kind of don't really want to talk about. Maybe they're afraid, somebody at their work is going to find out or whatever it is. And it's called All Things Metaphysical with Kellie and Gail. And we've been doing this over a year and a half, maybe. So there's a lot of episodes, you can scroll through, find one that looks interesting, but that's a great way to stay in touch. I also, I'm on Facebook, and it's Intuitive Medium Kellie Fitzgerald is what that is. And that's also my website, intuitivemediumkellyfitzgerald.com. So there's a lot of ways.
I love it. So you offer readings as an introduction to see if you're a good fit to work with people, and then you offer a program, and your program is in and around healing people to move forward in empowerment. Is that right, Kellie?
Yes, and it's all because of my background. You kind of help the people that that resonate, and I think there's such a need. Domestic violence, abuse is all too common all the way around the world. I have clients all around the world right now that they're either in the process of getting out of that situation, or they've just gotten out of the situation and they're kind of like I was. Well, okay, now what? So wherever people are is, that's why I tailor it to the person. I don't do like group classes. Everything I do is individual, because we're all different. And everybody's experiences are just a little bit different. And that's important to embrace those differences. So yes. I find working one-on-one works better.
Excellent. So very bespoke. I love that. That's fantastic. Okay. So now you've got a very special offer for our listeners today. Is that right, Kellie?
I do have price readings. I'm not sure what the exchange rate is right now. I meant to look that up, but I didn't. But I am in the United States, so it's USD, and it's normally $150, and I'm doing $75, so it's 50% off.
That's amazing, and that puts it inside the price bracket that our audience can use. That's amazing, and that gives them an opportunity to spend some quality time with you and see what they need to reflect on and move forward. And then, if working with you is a great fit, they can move that forward. Is that right?
Right. Absolutely. Everyone is different, and what works for one person may not work for somebody else, but it's a good, I think, chance to try it and just see if it would work for everybody. It's, it may work, I don't guarantee, yes, everybody's going to love this, but I think it's beneficial. And I've had so much feedback from clients that are positive and things that they realized through working with me that they hadn't really kind of realized before. It's kind of like a puzzle. You have to put the pieces together.
Yeah, absolutely. So you and I have been through a similar journey, and we're out the other side, and now we're paying it forward, making a difference. What would, if I asked you, what would be like the number one thing for you that helped you transition from where you were to where you are now?
You know, it was just getting to that point where I could not take any more. I think we each have that point. We have that particular place where, okay, you've pushed me far enough. I've taken all I can take. I can't take any more. But until you get to that point, you're still kind of in it. Well, do I leave? What do I do? You have to reach that point inside yourself. For me, it was all about a dog. I do animal rescue. Animals have always healed me. They always heal empaths. And I had a dog. And this guy, my ex, my daughter's father, unfortunately, kicked this dog. And that pushed me over the breaking point. I was like, no. That dog did nothing to you. You know, you want to take everything out on me. Take it out on me. Leave my kid and leave my dog alone. But that was what it was. And I think everyone has that one thing that happens. And it's like, nope, can't do that. No more. So for me, that's what it was. But,
Yeah.
you know, I have a nonprofit animal rescue group. So that would make perfect sense for me that it would be an animal.
So that's the straw that broke the camel's back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And listeners, today, you don't need to get to the point where you have to have that straw. By listening to these podcasts and being in the proximity of other people that have transitioned and are out the other side, it can help empower you to make the decision without a situation. Yeah, by just raising your level of consciousness about what is possible. And as Kellie started the conversation today, you know, shedding light on what it is that you might not have let go of, what you need to release so that you can be at a higher frequency to move forward. All of those things are very important. I love it. So, Kellie, we've got all range of listeners listening to us today, people that are inside a still a situation, they're out the other side, or they're now healers themselves. And so you've been on that journey yourself. I've got to ask you, what keeps you going? You know, you're healed, you've made a difference, and everything's okay now. What drives you to make a difference for others?
I think we have a responsibility when we've gone through something to help those people coming up behind us. And it's really so important to me to do that. I've gone to battered women's shelters and you know, spoken with them. I've done numerous events, and it's just, you have to give back. You know, I feel like I got through it because I'm supposed to give back. And I think all these people who have gone through whatever they've gone through, and they become the healers, and they become the teachers, and they become the mentors. That's because we all know that's your responsibility. So that's really what keeps me going. I'm always trying to find something that I can do. I'm always trying to put good in the world. I'm working on a food bank project right now. It's just important to me to give back. I know I needed someone at one time, and I didn't have, no one stepped up, and no one should go through that. So I'm that person for everybody else now.
That's a powerful reason why. And paying it forward, listeners, and making a difference does give us a chemical hit. It does actually give us a serotonin hit. It makes us feel good. And that, I guess, is oxytocin in there as well. And these are things that make us feel good about ourselves and about others. And by having these feel goods, it makes us feel like we're more as possible as well, and we can help more people. And then the reciprocity just keeps going round and round in a circle. Just imagine an entire world where everyone just did lovely things for other people. Oh, what a wonderful thing. We would love it. Now, Kellie, it takes a lot to reprint a book and relaunch it. Like, it's a huge process. So what was it about this book that you wrote that drove you to reproduce it?
I think it's just, you go through things, and I felt like the body of the book was good, but it needed to be sort of revised, added to. There was there were a couple of chapters that I felt like when it was released the first time, going back and rereading it, I felt like, maybe I should have added a little bit more here, a little bit more explanation. And so much has happened in the world since it came out that I felt like it was really important to address certain things. And I own the publishing company, so it was easy enough for me to say, okay, here's what we're going to do. But that's also proof that no matter what you've gone through, you can do whatever you want.
And
you really can.
How healing do you feel, Kellie, that writing a book for our listeners, how healing do you think the process is of writing the book? Not even let alone getting it published, but just going through the process of writing the book.
I tell all my clients, journal, write. It is the most healing thing you can do. Sometimes we remember things, and I personally did. I remember things from early in my childhood that I still today choke up when I try to talk about it. But writing it down was so much easier. Nobody hears your voice cracking when you're writing it down. And that was very healing for me. I think it's important to get it out, whatever it is that we're holding on to. Get it out. If you can't talk to somebody, write it down. That really does get it out of your body. That's a whole other show, but your body, is really horribly impacted by some of the things that we suppress and bury. So get it out.
It's true. The body does, it remembers, it holds, the pains are held in the body. And that action of writing it out is very cathartic. It releases those frequencies and puts them into the book, helps you release them and let them go so that you can move on. So I'm an absolute advocate of journaling. And I do something a little different. So at the end of a week, I re-journal. So I go back through that week's journaling, and then I'll do dot points or highlight the points that really stood out for me that I can learn. And then at the end of the month, I go through just the dot points for each of the weeks. So then you've only got 4 or 5 pages to go through. And then at the end of the year, I look at the 12 months and what was the summary of each of the months. And for me, it's enabled me to really see patterns of behavior for myself, for my family, for so much that I would not have seen because I was too busy having the 20-foot view and not having that view from here. And you're right, Kellie, we forget what we had for breakfast yesterday. And but we can see these patterns of behavior. It helps us have that level of awareness so we can put space between thought and action and make different choices. So I love it, Kellie. I love it. So in summary today, listeners, to stay in Kellie's proximity, she's got a YouTube channel, and we'll put the links here in the show notes and also in the description. And then also she's got a range of books, and to access them, the best thing to do is just look for the author, Kellie Fitzgerald, and then you'll be able to find them because there's a multitude of books. And when is the new book being released, Kellie?
Hopefully it will be out in April. That is the plan. We'll see how it works. Yeah.
A nice Easter present. There we go. I love it. Excellent. And also for our beautiful listeners today, whenever you're listening to this podcast and whatever platform you're listening to it on, you can contact Kellie. The links will be in the show notes and in the description. And contact her for a reading, which is a beautiful way to get a little bit of a confirmation of where you are and what's happening. Yes, and it's also amazing to start that healing journey as well and see where that can lead you working with Kellie. And they're going to be half price. And all you need to do is mention that you heard Kellie Fitzgerald on the Healing Through Love podcast, which is amazing. And I love it. So, Kellie, have you got any closing words for our listeners today?
Keep going. So often things get so overwhelming, and especially if you're in a situation where you're not always safe, you need to know that you can get through it. There are many people that will help you get through it. Just keep going. Don't give up. The world needs you. Truly, we do.
Oh, Kellie, I love that. And ask for help. And help can come in the most surprising ways.
Mm-hmm.
If you But you need to be brave enough to ask for help. And it needs to be safe too. So we're not going to ask you to ask for help for somebody where that's going to get back to the perpetrator. Make sure you're asking someone who is a safe person and can help you. And we also have helplines, both in every country has a helpline that you can call. And all of those details, including Lifeline, are all listed on the Healing Through Love podcast as well. It's been a privilege and a pleasure to spend quality time with you today, and I know that you will enjoy reading Kellie Fitzgerald's books and connecting to her on the YouTube channel for all things metaphysical. It's a bye from us today. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Healing Through Love. You can get further resources, see the show notes, or simply reach out to us via our website at htlaustralia.org. Thanks so much for joining us, and we look forward to your company next time on the Healing Through Love podcast.